Hello, comic fans. Here's Earl Grey talking about Duke, the most recent work of the Belgian comic master Herman, written by his son Yves and Yves Hupen. And this is here our main guy, a gunslinger called Duke. He's our good guy, even though in this world not much is really good. And the harsh circumstances that we can witness here of the people that lived in the Wild West is very close, I guess, to the reality of way back then. And we have a lot of grayish scenes and grayish coloring, which is pretty typical for Herman stories sometimes, but in contrast to the lush coloring of some landscapes, even though, as you can see here, there's not much romanticism, false romanticism involved when it comes to Herman's depiction of the Wild West. Like, for instance, the second album, which is called Wer tötet, at least this is the German title, Who Kills... And now I go into spoiler territory, but I don't think that this is a problem and will take some of your enjoyment of this series, because Herman's Duke is absolutely not about surprises or a surprising plot twist or something like that, but about telling well-known narratives once again in a different manner, in a more harsh manner. But I guess you won't be surprised by none of these stories about the outcome of these stories. So, that being said, the second album starts very typical with some kind of bloodshed. It's a robbery of this postal transport, and all these guys here and this. No, she's not. She survives, but all the others are killed by these villains. And very typical Herman. We have injustice, very brutal injustice, which shows us how bad, how evil man can be. Just very harsh and unsentimental look at the dark side of human condition, if you will. And further on, we have a lot of archetypes that you surely have seen before in Wild Western movies or comics. Like, for instance, this marshal here, who is not a bad guy, so he is a bit in between, but nevertheless, he's in the pocket of this capitalist guy here, the leader of Mullins Company, Mr. Mullins. So he's maybe not a bad guy, and he's not so much about the money, but he wants just to survive. So in a way, this is understandable, but in the harsh and unflinching look of Herman, he is, of course, one of the guys that are part of the problem here. I don't want to, by no means, diss the story here. It's a very well-told, gripping tale that makes us feel for the characters. And a great deal in that regard is due to Herman's fantastic art, of course. You can see here the girl that got away, and this impressionistic coloring of Herman amazes me always, but I think he has improved a lot since his early days, and some of his panels are so great that you could blow them up and they would look like perfect impressionistic paintings. Plus, he has one thing that the old impressionist painters didn't had, and that's a sense for black. And here, to express the loneliness of our character. This is a very neat panel, and he can dim all the colors down to this typical Hermann gray, which is not gray but a multitude of gray tones and brownish tones. Here we have our main hero, Duke, and he is sort of in love with this prostitute. As I said, this story is not about surprises, but just a well done and gripping story, and highly recommended, of course. Let's see if we can... These are kind of my favorite panels, when the light falls through the leaves and we have these kind of effects here. And there's a lot of light falling through leaves here in this comic here. And of course there's a lot of action, even though you can maybe forget this about these fantastic sceneries that transport you into the Wild West era. If you want to read a Hermann Western comic, I would recommend to read Comanche before you read this one, because Comanche, story-wise, is much more interesting, intricate, and yeah, sometimes even surprising. While this, as I said, it's not. But this don't want to be original or something like that, and I really can see that and appreciate the story here for what it is. And the characters, like in many comic series, the characters grow on you with each installment. I always thought that this will wrap up with album 3, because the German publisher Erco did this thing here, writing Duke in big letters all over the spines here. But this is definitely not the case, because album 3 ends on a cliffhanger. And I'm really curious to see how long the series here will continue, and what Hermann will do with his character Duke and all the other side characters, because especially our main hero has a lot of potential and could be more than just, to be blunt, a vessel for Wild Western cliches, even of the kind of cliches that have to do actually a lot with the historic facts of way back then. And I really hope that they improve on the covers department. I mean, for me, it's not so important, because I will always buy Hermann's books here. But to get the deserved success over here, I think has a lot to do in improving the covers. These covers here are not really great. I mean, when you have a comics master, and this is like Hermann, and these covers here with the different fonts that are all over the place, and cover designs that are basically more or less blown up panels. Yeah, you have to do a bit more to lure new fans to Hermann, I think. But that's just really an aside, and overall I think Hermann fans and fans of good comics will enjoy a lot, will find a lot to enjoy in Duke by Hermann and Yves Hupen. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.